backpacking family. I've been backpacking since I was a young boy, and my kids have been backpacking since they could walk, or maybe even a little before that. But for this trip, I would be taking Wesley, our 13-year-old, and Jeremy, our 12-year-old, while Meg stayed home with the two younger children. I would not be without help, though. Joining us would be my father-in-law, who just recently rediscovered backpacking, and my dad, who would join us for the last week of our trip. After months of research, planning, and preparation, it was finally time to go. We left home early that morning and headed down the eastern side of the Sierra. After picking up our permit and enjoying a nice dinner in Lone Pine, we headed to the backpackers campground at Horseshoe Meadow, where we would be starting our trip. Our plan was to hike the entire John Muir Trail, all 211 miles, over the next 25 days. This is it. It's day 0. We're up at Horseshoe Meadow at the campground at the trailhead, and spent basically the entire day driving today. I think we all got a little bit antsy in the car, a little bit anxious.
Jeremy cough.
What was that? But it's nice to be up here. It's nice to be up in the peace and quiet. We're at about 10,000 feet. I think we're all feeling it a little bit. But it's beautiful. Beautiful place to start a hike.
I am drawing the stages of mayflies, so don't forget.
Important stuff.
Yes.
How about you, Dave? Taking some notes?
Talking about the wonderful silence that nature provides for us.
And Jeremy is writing up his fish tally. Starting with cutthroat, huh?
Yeah.
You think you're gonna get one?
Yes. I'm going after that Sierra Slim.
Very cool. Well, there are a lot of people up here. There's our little camp there, and probably a few car campers, but mostly people who are gonna be taking off on a long journey like us. So, pretty cool.
I just want to go fishing.
You want to go fish, don't you?
I'm anxious.
Alright, it's day 1. Here with Jeremy, we are climbing up Cottonwood Pass. A little short of breath, a little winded. We did get an early start this morning. We got up by 6 and out of camp by 7:30. So, how you doing, bud?
Good.
Good. Wes is back with Grandpa. They're heading up. So we're gonna walk a little way. Just finished lunch break. Pack is slightly lighter. Yeah, you would have. Or you would have been out some Pop-Tarts.
No, I would.
You'd be out of kit.
How you doing, bud?
Tired.
Tired? Still got a little ways to go too, huh?
Yeah.
Can we make it there by 3? Yeah, I bet we could do 2 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Pretty spectacular. After a long, gradual descent on the PCT, we arrived at Rock Creek, and while the boys were tired, they weren't too tired to fish. Our main objective for this trip was to finish the John Muir Trail, but I'd be lying if I said that catching as many fish as humanly possible wasn't a close second. Over the next 25 days, if the boys weren't hiking, they probably had a rod in their hands.
Nice. Told you we pull fish out of there. Oh, and that's a good sized one. That's the biggest one you've caught today.
It's pretty easy to see why they're called golden trout.
So we had a pretty good day. You know, it was kind of a lot of ups and downs. We got up to the top of Cottonwood Pass pretty easily, a lot better than we thought we would do, a lot faster than we thought we would do. And felt pretty good about ourselves, and then we had like a 9 to 10 mile downhill slog. And I think that really wore us out. I think everybody's feet were really hurting. And so we got into camp, everybody's kind of tired, kind of demoralized. So I went down, while they were resting, I went down to the creek and strung up my fly rod and caught a few goldens, and then came and got the boys and showed them where the honey hole was, and they proceeded to catch fish after fish after fish. We got an early start this morning. We were able to, we've covered about 2 miles so far and climbed a little over 1,000 feet. We're up on the top of Giat Pass. Still got another probably 5 miles today, but should be a lot easier than the 2 miles we just did. Over there. Was to go to Crabtree Lakes today, and we kind of missed the cutoff and overshot it by half a mile. And so we could have gone back and tried to find it, but we were looking for it and it wasn't really obvious. So we decided to do a little bushwhacking and go cross country. So basically we climbed up on some rocks and just kept climbing and kind of contoured around, and we're following the GPS, and so trying to stay out of the steepest stuff, but give you an idea of what we've done so far. Pretty mountains over there. So we basically followed along the side of those rocks there, and then down into a gully back here where there's a creek. And now we are headed that way, and about a quarter of a mile we should hit the trail that we missed the cutoff for. It's not a highly used trail like the JMT, so but not doing anything crazy. If there's anything even remotely dangerous, we'll just bail and turn back and have to skip out on the supposedly hot fishing that Crabtree has. So.
The Crabtree Lakes were absolutely stunning. We made camp at the far end of the lower lake and spent some time fishing the tarn just above it. Wes was feeling a little under the weather, so he turned in early while Jeremy and I made our way to the middle lake, where Jeremy landed the largest golden of the trip. As we headed back to camp, we were treated to a spectacular Sierra sunset. What a great way to end the day.
Alright, so day 3. Had a windy and chilly night up at Crabtree Lake, and got a decent start, not quite as early as we have been the last couple of days. We left about 8. Came down the hill on kind of a makeshift trail. It wasn't much of a trail. And now we're back at Upper Crabtree Meadow. And we got another... Grandpa stayed here last night, and we got to go meet him up at Guitar Lake. So we got about 2.5 miles to Guitar Lake from here. Probably going to stop and do some fishing at Timberline Lake, and then again at Guitar Lake, and hopefully we can get a spot up above Guitar Lake. I think we're early enough that we should be able to get a pretty decent spot. So that's the plan for today.
Timberline Lake did not disappoint from a scenery or fishing perspective. And while the fish weren't very big, there were tons of them, and they were very hungry. In fact, I couldn't think of a better place to give someone their first fly fishing experience. Wide open space to cast, a beautiful setting, and action that was fast and furious for beautiful fish.
So here's a little golden that I caught. Look at that belly though. That is so impressive. Beautiful stripes. Just a beautiful fish. Let him go. Get out of here. Here with Wes. Oh, another take.
Kind of hard to set the hook up here.
There you go.
That's not one.
Nice.
All the fish I've been catching have been like little.
Alright, so we've just about reached Guitar Lake. Some pretty impressive mountains here. Beautiful, beautiful area. There's Guitar Lake.
Now we gotta go find Grandpa.
Yep. Plan was to meet Grandpa up here after we did our adventure. Alright, let's head on down.
Imagine you sleeping hard rain, soft awakening. I can hear you whispering, and I turn my head to listen in. These rustling sheets are dry leaves, and cool and crisp and softly tickling. A ray of light breaks through the clouds, and it gleams on your forehead and hair.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I didn't bother. No, once is good for me. I probably ought to wash a little bit though, so I'm gonna put the camera down.
Our day ended catching more fish in another beautiful Sierra setting.
All right, day 4. It's about 6 a.m. We got up, had breakfast, and we're starting to make our way up to the top of Mount Whitney. People who were on their way up to try and catch the sunrise this morning right after we got up. So you can see headlamps all over the side of the hill. And I was wondering how it was possible that they could get up there. So I guess we'll find out.
We would make it to Upper Crabtree Meadow just as the storm was rolling in.
So we had a little thunderstorm, so we're kind of cooped up in our tent right now, just hanging out. The boys have been body slamming each other.
Body slam! Invader bombing.
And we've been listening to music. And
You may call us backpacking.
basically just killing time. We had a good day today. Hiked
3 miles.
3 for you, 12 or 13 for us. So we had a long day.
I caught
But,
a bunch more fish while they hiked.
Yeah, you caught fish, we hiked. It was a good day. My inReach may be dead, which kind of sucks. So I gotta find a way to get word to home that we're okay.
And not dead.
Yeah, so that Mom doesn't start freaking out. But got a good day tomorrow. 9 miles to go, so should be good. Alright, we're on to day 5. We got another early start this morning. Broke camp at Crabtree Meadows at about 7:30. And we're hoping to get up to Tyndall today. Of course, we may have some afternoon thunderstorms, so we're going to try and beat those up to Tyndall. We've got to get across Bighorn Plateau. That's really where the danger is as far as hiking in the thunderstorms. So hopefully we can cruise ahead and get up there and not run into any issues. So day 5, here we go.
My love, my love, my love gets taken for a ride with me. My love, my love, my love, it's everything I had to be. My love, my love, my love, it's everywhere I have to be. And hold me, roll me, I am days ago. Hold me, roll me, I am like days ago. My love, my love, my love, it's abundant in a million times. My love, my love, my love, never lasting all the times. And from now on, I fell in time with the likes of days ago. And from now on, it's been all time with the likes of days ago. Tomorrow I must go, but I'll leave with you this hope. Tomorrow I must go, but I'll leave with you this hope. So hold on tight, I can see the light. We are like days ago. So hold on tight, we can see the light. I am like days ago.
We rolled into Tyndall mid-afternoon, giving us time to chat with other hikers, soak our feet in the creek, and catch a few more fish.
Alright, I believe it's day 6. Is that right? Day 6? And we got a challenge ahead of us. We got to go up over Forester Pass this morning, so That's the plan. You ready for this? It's about 7 a.m. We got a nice early start, so we're gonna go hit it.
Every cowboy, he always misses when he's aiming at the target in his head. And every broken man finds his idle hands grasping at tomorrow's promised land. And I've been thinking about running, and I'll get out on the town just for myself. And that's when I saw her, and she looked right through me. And when I said I do that day, I really do. 'Cause every cowboy, he always misses his shot when he's aiming at the target in his head. And every broken man finds his idle hands grasping at tomorrow's promised land. And I've been thinking about riding, and when I get the first draft back with no red ink, but I've been thinking to do my best work. Yeah, I've gotta leave this town to find my way. And when that plane touched down on that island town, I knew that my life's work was in their hands. So I started digging for wells of water, and I'm a hero in their eyes. It's clear to see. 'Cause every cowboy, he always misses his shot when he's aiming at the target in his head. And every broken man finds his idle hands grasping at tomorrow's promised land. And I've been thinking about the time that I have wasted sitting here. 'Cause I've been thinking that all this thinking is the thing that keeps me further from myself.
So today's been a great day. Coming into the trip, I thought this was going to be maybe our hardest day. We had 11 or 12 miles, had the tallest pass of the whole trip, had 13.2 at Forester, and wasn't sure how the boys would handle it, but they just killed it today. We thought it'd take us 3.5 hours to get up. Took them just over 2, and they've been pushing almost 3-mile-per-hour pace downhill to the point where I'm having a hard time keeping up with them. So they said they got their trail legs today, so I think they're probably right.
We made our way down to Vedette Meadow, just below the 10,000 foot mark, and into a legal fire zone. We caught a few fish in Bub's Creek and roasted them over a fire as the sun went down.
Alright, day 7. Off to a pretty good start this morning. Kids wanted to fish a little bit down further, so we still got our fly rods out. Fishing was pretty good yesterday, but they were hoping to catch more brown trout, and all we could seem to find were goldens and the occasional brook trout. So we're gonna cruise down a little ways. Beautiful morning. Got a few sprinkles on us last night, but today looks like another nice day. We're gonna see what we can get done today. Getting our resupply here in a few hours, but we've got some time to kill. It's only going to take us about an hour to get to the resupply point, so I'm going to let the kids fish for a little bit.
And we killed that time pulling browns out of Bub's Creek.
We are hanging out here waiting for our resupply. We've got our stack of emptied bear canisters with lots of trash that we're going to fill up as soon as the pack train gets here. Nope, they're here. So we get to get our resupply and keep moving on. Yay!
See the food?
We're climbing up Glen Pass right now. Got our resupply, got everything packed in, and we're just trying to burn off some of that anxiety that was created by our pack train being an hour and a half late. So, got to get up over this pass so we can get to Ray Lakes where we're planning on spending. Looks like we've still got a pretty good climb up ahead of us. Well, there's the top of Glen Pass. A few people up there. Still got a little ways to go. Pretty neat in here. A lot of rock above the tree line. Scattered lakes. How you doing, bud?
Tired.
Brutal, huh?
Yeah.
Harder than Forrester?
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Put one foot in front of the other and let not your fears impede. Look not at the way that you stutter, but at who is listening. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Put one hand on top of the other and wait patiently till you see. Some days are like every other, but one day we will be free again. Moses came to save us, to save us. Moses came to kill us, to kill us. Moses came from God, from God. Moses came from our own blood, yeah. One footstep in front of the other, and a victory has been won. We know that there will be darkness, but today's sun will shine again, again. Put one hand on top of your brother's, and not all things can be said. Some comfort is here in your presence. I know I will be made again, again. Moses came to save us, to save us. Moses came to kill us, to kill us.
It's more of Upper Ray Lake. Couldn't find any good camping spots along it, so we're gonna head for Middle. We did stop to catch some fish though. Caught a bunch of brook trout. I think between the three of us we probably caught 25. So it was good for 15 minutes of work. And we're gonna go over to Middle Ray and see if we can find a place to spend the night.
We were getting into camp much later than usual, and so we ended up next to the bear boxes at Middle Ray Lake with 30 of our closest friends. In all seriousness, some of the people we met that evening would become part of our trail family. People like Steve and Callie from Wisconsin and Mike from Reno. As the morning broke, it became evident that this would be a perfect morning for some photography, and not a bad day to fish either. After spending some time fishing Ray Lakes, we hit Arrowhead and Dollar Lakes, and then we put away our rods for the trek down to the suspension bridge.
A year ago I lit a flame. It burned so bright, but no one came. You see the light from across the land. It echoed loud, but no one stands. And only in my eyes does someone know. And only in my eyes does someone know. It's true. it felt so dark. I went insane. The flame, it flourished inside you. I've never seen beauty like this inside a human being. And only in my eyes does someone know. And only in my eyes does someone know. It's true. We live inside the past like the future. 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 And only in my eyes does someone know. And only in my eyes does someone.
After crossing the suspension bridge, we had 2,000 feet to climb over the next 4 miles to make it to our destination for the night, the Twin Lakes. Up until this point, I had been very careful with our planning, making sure that our climbing was done in the morning when we were fresh. But with all of our fishing that morning, and having to cover over 6 miles from our campsite to the bridge, we didn't start our ascent until almost 3 p.m. Wes really struggled that afternoon, and due to that and some other events, I really didn't get to film as much as I would have liked to.
Today is day 9 of the Twin Lakes. As you can tell, mosquitoes are pretty bad up here. The fishing was pretty good. Kids had a good time yesterday after we got in. Yesterday was kind of a crazy day, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it before I forgot everything that happened. So we started out the day doing a lot of fishing. About noon, we finished fishing down the lake and decided, hey, we need to get down the hill to the bridge so that we can make our way up to Twin Lakes. So we got down there about 1:30, had lunch, 2 o'clock, we were ready to start heading up the hill. And Jeremy's feeling good, and Wes not so much, so decided to, I just told Jeremy if he got to anywhere that concerned him, like water crossings, any trail junctions, he wasn't sure about to wait for us. And that was a mistake. I should have kept him with me. But Grandpa was up ahead. I thought he might just catch up to Grandpa. So he went forward. I stayed with Wes. Wes struggled a bit, kind of down on himself. It was a hard hike, 2,000 feet of elevation gain over about 4 miles. And it was late in the day, and we'd already put on 7 or 8 miles prior to that. So it was rough, but he made it up. But we made it up to the lakes and found Grandpa, and he had not seen Jeremy. And I just about lost it. Started running around frantically, screaming his name, and was praying. And after about 5 minutes of looking, we found him at the upper lake. He had taken a little use trail that cut off before where Grandpa had stopped. And that really scared me. He was fine. He wasn't scared. He wasn't concerned. He was surprised that he couldn't find us. But Grandpa had stayed on the main trail, and he'd taken the use trail to the lakes. So they had probably just missed each other. All's well that ends well, but still a scary experience and something that certainly have to be much more careful about in the future. Alright, so we're most of the way up Pinchot. Got a little ways left to go. There's another story I wanted to tell from yesterday that I thought was kind of cool. As I mentioned before, Wes was really struggling. He was having a hard time with the climb at the end of the day, and it was partially my poor planning. It's definitely easier to hit the passes earlier in the day, but about a mile from the top, he was just ready to break down, and it was at that point that I said, "Hey Wes, let me take your bear can." I figured that'd take 8 to 10 pounds off of him, and make it a little bit easier. And he kind of surprised me. He said no. He wouldn't let me take his bear can. And when we got up to the lake, I asked him why, and he said, because then I wouldn't feel like it counted. Wouldn't feel like I did it. And I think that's something I always struggle with is at what point do I step in and help? But at the same time, sometimes we need those struggles. Sometimes we need to overcome those struggles because that's how we grow. And so it's always a struggle, particularly with your children, knowing when to let them struggle, when to let them fight through things, and when to take some of their load. And so, Wes made that decision for me yesterday. I was just feeling so bad for him that I wanted to do what I could to try and take a little bit of his load, but he wouldn't let me because he wanted it to count. And I think that was a very growing moment for him, and to get to see that was really something special. And I hope that that's something that he takes away from this. And we actually talked about that at the end of the day yesterday, that sometimes we have to struggle through things, and that helps us grow. I really believe that. If there aren't any challenges in life, then we really don't progress much. We don't have the opportunity to grow and to become better and stronger as individuals. And so I think that's something very valuable that I can take away from this, and I hope my boys take that away from this as well.
All right, made it to the top of Pinchot Pass. That's where we came from. And that's where we're headed.
Just north of Pinchot Pass is one of the bluest lakes you will ever see. We stopped for lunch at Lake Marjorie, and while the fishing was only mediocre, the scenery was sublime.
So we're at the South Fork of the Kings River right now, and this is sadly a river crossing where a PCT hiker lost her life earlier this year. The water level's way lower now. It's really an easy crossing now, but I imagine the water was probably a foot higher and quite a bit faster. So grateful to be coming late in the year like this.
Good morning. It's day 10. We got an early start this morning on the trail by 7:15. About 3.5, 4 miles to Mather Pass. About 1,600 feet to climb, and then down to Lower Palisades Lake. That's the plan anyway. So
to a good start this morning. Got up early, got cracking, and walking up this beautiful little valley.
Mather Pass was similar to the other passes we had done so far. A long gradual climb up to a wall, then switchbacks up and over the top with amazing panoramic views.
Never learned to wait. Some men are waiting all their lives. Some men are waiting for the door to fling open, and some men are waiting for the Lord. And some days I look at a mountain, and some days I look at the day. Some days I look at the Boston Marathon, and someday I look at your face. Oh, 'cause some days are never coming. Oh, and some days won't get here soon. Oh, and some days are imaginary. Oh, and some days I spend with you.
On our descent from Mather Pass, we were treated to a colorful wildflower display. Normally, a mid-August start would mean missing out on the peak window for Sierra wildflowers, but the late and heavy snow year made for a late bloom of some of my favorites: Indian paintbrush, columbine, and shooting stars.
Is a day for which we wait, and heaven is never, ever, 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 ever ending, and heaven's 2 cents heavy on my mind. Oh, 'cause some days are never coming. Oh, and some days will get here soon. Oh, and some days are imaginary.
Alright, it's time for bath number 2. Number 1 for you. That's disgusting. Who gets in first? Go for it. Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Another day would end with tight loops being thrown over crystal clear waters in this alpine paradise, and a number of goldens and golden rainbow hybrids who would succumb to the temptations of the fly.
All right, day 11. We left Lower Palisades Lake, which was amazing. Would go back there in a heartbeat. And now we're starting to descend the Golden Staircase. No passes today, but we got to get ourselves set up to tackle Muir Pass tomorrow, which should be a beast. So we've got some mileage to cover today, but shouldn't be anything too terrible.
As we made our way up LeConte Canyon, we were treated to a little different type of scenery than what we had seen for the majority of the trip thus far. We were now well below the tree line and past several beautiful meadows with streams meandering through them, just begging us to wet a line. However, we had places to be, and fearing a repeat of our late afternoon climb up Woods Creek, we pressed on and the rods stayed in their cases.
Day 11. We're all set up in camp. We stopped at Big Pete Meadow, and I wish we'd gone maybe just a little bit further, but everybody was tired. We'd already covered 12 miles today, so it was time to kind of shut it down. So found a nice little place, pretty sheltered, pretty protected in case we get a storm in tonight, but looks like things are going to stay clear. Tomorrow's a big day. Go over Muir Pass. It's a day I've both been looking forward to and a day I've kind of been worried about. We've got to climb 2,600 feet over the first 5 miles to the summit, or to the top of the pass, and then we cruise down another 6 miles down to Evolution Lake, which should be awesome. I heard a lot of people compare it to Lower Palisades Lake, so if it's half as pretty as that, it should be a good time. So yeah, tomorrow's a big day. It's gonna be a tough day. It's gonna be one of our biggest climbs and probably one of our most difficult days. So hopefully the kids had a pretty good attitude today. And all right, day 12. Getting ready to have breakfast. Dave left about a half hour ago. Got an early start. So we're having oatmeal today. I'm sorry, not oatmeal, granola. And got our snacks lined up over here for the day. Jeremy's down getting water right now. And mix that with powdered milk. It'll be almost like having granola at home. So do that, and then we'll pack things up and hit the trail.
Our hike started with a mandatory stop at the Whale Rock.
How we doing, Wes? Tired? Doing great. Not that much farther to go. Up there? Yep. Up there.
When I was born, I didn't know, and I didn't know
our way over numerous snowfields and streams of snow melt, we finally reached Muir Hut at the top of Muir Pass.
I didn't know. I didn't know what it would take. When I met you, I didn't know. I didn't know. All that I am.
The descent from Muir Pass was the highlight for me of what may have been the single most spectacular day of hiking in my entire life. The stark, exposed landscape, dotted with emerald lakes, towered over by granite spires. This is a day that I will remember forever.
Now we're here, now I know. Now I know what it would take. No. Whoa.
That feels awesome.
Evolution Lake was even prettier than I could have imagined. While the boys enticed golden trout to rise to a dry, I soaked in the setting and reflected on our day. The alpenglow gave way to the Milky Way on the clear, moonless night.
So we got off just after 7 this morning. I think the kids are motivated by a good dinner and a soak in the hot springs at Muir Trail Ranch. Got a long day today. Probably got 15 or 16 miles to cover. But the boys are motivated. It's all downhill. We're going to lose about 3,000 feet, maybe a little more today. So I think all in all, it should be a good day. Particularly if the dinner's as good as everybody says.
The crossing of Evolution Creek was probably our deepest crossing of the trip, but the mild current ensured that it was no big deal.
been a really, really long day. About 16 miles I've covered, and it just looks like we're just getting to Muir Trail Ranch. So, very welcome sight. It's all downhill, but still took a toll on the legs and on the feet. So, boys are excited to be done, as am I.
Yay! Day 14, it's 0 day. Realized I didn't do much filming yesterday after we got in. I think I was just so excited to take advantage of all the amenities here, so I'll try and do a little better today on our 0 day. It's a little after 7 o'clock. They just rang the breakfast bell, so I'm gonna go get me some food.
After breakfast, Jeremy and I headed down to the South Fork of the San Joaquin hunting for browns. Jeremy caught one on his first cast, and not too much later he managed to land another one. Jeremy 2, Dad 0. I would eventually get on the board though, and managed to catch the biggest fish of our whole through hike.
Here's one of the little bathhouses. Kind of sit here and get yourself cleaned off, and then you can soak in the tub. And the tub's probably somewhere between 95 and 100 degrees. So it feels pretty good. And gorgeous setting. So I'm gonna take a soak. Alright, just finished my dip. And now I'm gonna go eat some lunch. And then off to my massage.
After the much-needed massage, we hung out in the lounge, playing the guitar, reading books, and playing games. A tri-tip dinner was the perfect ending to a very relaxing day.
Alright, day 15. We're headed up to get breakfast, and we gotta start hiking. Kind of bittersweet. One of my thoughts the whole time is, staying here is pretty expensive. Is it going to be worth it? And after being here for 2 days, absolutely. It's been great, but I'm excited to get back on the trail because I know that each day on the trail gets us closer to home. So excited to get home. Miss the family, miss the kids, miss my wife. So excited to get going.
Breakfast is served. What do you think, guys?
Good. Yeah.
Wes was hoping for something with syrup, and he got his wish.
Best for last.
As we climbed out of the valley, it was apparent that today would be another struggle for Wes. This time it wasn't my planning that was to blame, but rather his affinity for the hiker buckets at Muir Trail Ranch. While Jeremy and I had been fishing on our 0 day, Wes systematically went through the hiker buckets collecting snacks that appealed to him. As a result, his pack weighed 4 pounds more than it had when we started our hike. We stopped for lunch at Sally Keys Lakes and got right to the fishing. The fish weren't as numerous as other golden lakes we had fished, but on average they were much larger, and the hour we spent there didn't feel nearly long enough. Definitely somewhere I'd like to visit again. I hadn't heard much about Selden Pass or Murray Lake, and so when we reached the top of the pass and the lake came into view, I was very pleasantly surprised. After setting up camp on the peninsula, we made our way to the inlet for some evening fishing.
Jeremy's hooked up. We're at Murray Lake. The mosquitoes are awful right now, but fishing's been really good for big fish, so we're gonna keep going. Yep, get him up. Nice fish.
Fought hard.
Nice fish. Good 12 inches. Ooh.
See.
Nice fish.
Over a 45-minute period, we caught a 12 to 14-inch brook trout on nearly every cast. It was our best night of fishing of the whole trip, and one the boys still talk about.
All right, day 16. We're still here at Murray Lake. We just got packed up. This is our campsite last night. Beautiful place. Really sad to leave. Les is already pulled in 2 more fish this morning. He's got about 2 minutes left. He's got a 2-minute allocation for fishing this morning before we leave camp. So, I think 2. Beautiful day, clear skies. Got hailed on yesterday, but appears to have cleared up like it does every night. Just getting ready to leave. I'm going to try and go a little farther than we had originally planned. We'd originally planned to just go to Bear Creek and camp there, but that's only about 6 miles, so we're actually going to try and do 12. See if we can't get a little farther and maybe make it into Red's Meadow a little earlier and maybe stay in the campground there. So that's the plan. All right, fishing Bear Creek. Both boys are hooked up right now. What are we catching? That looks like a golden. What'd you get, Jeremy? Nice.
The stroll along Bear Creek was relaxing, but then came the climb up over Bear Ridge. As we came down the north side of Bear Ridge, we could see our next day's challenge, Silver Pass, off in the distance.
All right, day 17. We're getting all packed
packed up here. Just gonna break down the tent and then we are off. We got a long climb today, 3,000 feet over 7 miles. And then we'll cruise down about 3 miles, hopefully get to Fish Creek, spend the night there, and tomorrow will be a shorter day with a lot of fishing.
In the center of the storm, yeah, we lock eyes. In the center of the storm, we see blue skies.
As we approached Silver Pass, the steep wooded hillside gave way to a beautiful open basin.
Batten down the hatches for the storm that's coming through. Batten down the hatches for the pain that's coming soon. And it doesn't take a scientist to see what's on the horizon. And it doesn't take a holy man to see what you've been hiding. 'Cause we both knew that this was.
Having made it to Fish Creek with some gas still left in the tank, the boys decided to push on to Lake Virginia.
And we both knew it had its time. And
The climb from Fish Creek to Lake Virginia was brutal. It was steep, hot, and very exposed.
I gave my all.
Nice fish, Wes.
Nice rainbow.
Pretty rainbow. Nice size too. Alright.
A few more fish were caught, and then we called it a night.
I can't tell where it went wrong or right.
Goodbye, Virginia. It's day 18. We are getting on the trail. Got a long day today. I'm trying to cover about 15 miles and get to Red's Meadow so we can have hamburgers.
We took a short break at Purple Lake, just long enough to catch a few fish. As we approached Red's Meadow, we were treated to a view of the minarets, which we would be traveling by in just a few short days. On arriving at Red's, we treated ourselves to a soda and hamburgers, and then made our way to the backpackers' campground for the night.
Alright, today is day 19? 19. Day 19. We had a 0 day today here at Red's Meadow. We took the bus into town. We actually went to church today, which was really nice because it's been a few weeks. And then we met my parents and had pizza. They went back to their bed and breakfast. We came back here to the campground. My dad's going to meet us tomorrow morning. He's going to hike with us the last week. So 6 days left starting tomorrow. Gonna hit the trail hard.
We spent that evening at the Red's Meadow campground, swapping stories with the other hikers and enjoying the campfire.
Alright, it is day 20. Back on the trail after our 0 day yesterday, which was really nice. Got to eat some pizza. Had a big breakfast this morning. Got a new hiker with us. Papa's here. We're gonna go catch tortoise, which is Dave's trail name. He got about an hour and a half head start on us this morning. And we're gonna go cruise by Devil's Post Pile on our way out of the valley and see what that's all about. So, day 20, here we go.
Alright, made it to Devil's Post Pile. Really cool how the volcanic rock formed these columns when it solidified.
Rosalie Lake would be where we would say goodbye to Dave. He wanted to finish the hike a little earlier, so he kept hiking while we stopped for the day. It was a good first day for my dad, and Stephen and Callie joined us that night for a fish fry. Wes also gave Stephen his first fly fishing lesson, and Stephen managed to catch his first fish on a fly rod that night. Rosalie Lake was one of the best fishing lakes on our entire trip, probably only second to Marie Lake. Jeremy had a stretch where he caught fish on 6 or 7 consecutive casts.
Alright, day 21. Here we go. This is the campsite last night. We're all cleaned up, ready to get out of here. We did. We caught a bunch of fish, had a fish fry, invited some friends over for fried fish, and now we're going to hit the trail. Say goodbye to Rosalie. It was a great lake, great night last night. So here we go.
As we came over the crest, we got our first look at Garnett Lake and Mount Ritter and Banner Peak. Garnett Lake is just as beautiful as everyone says it is. We stopped here for a fishing break, but it was also the perfect spot to relax. Garnett is also where Wes caught his biggest fish of the trip. This toad snatched his hopper right off the surface of the water. After a brief and mediocre fishing stop at Emerald Lake, we moved on to our destination for the night, Thousand Island Lake.
I won't need a goes faster every day. Boy, you better run, run, hound. When I'm tired of running, yeah, I will come back home. 'Cause when I'm tired of running,
And while the storm missed us, it sure was fun watching it roll over Banner and Ritter.
and each moment seems to push us only further. Boy, you better run, run, hound. Cause baby, where I'm going, yeah, I won't need a thing. Cause baby, where I'm going.
After sharing rainbow trout fillets with a number of our neighbors, the boys headed to bed, and I stayed out just long enough to shoot a few photos of the rising moon. Day 22 started out beautifully. The storm clouds had passed, and the morning was perfectly calm. After shooting a few pictures, we headed up to Island Pass and enjoyed our last look at this Sierra landmark.
The oldest house lays down its head as night is done, while in the east a bright new star shines above the rising sun. 2,000 years are all they reign in the temple of the sky. 12 signs and one less favored.
The climb up to Donahue Pass was very scenic, but not in the shock and awe style of the Southern Sierra. The Northern Sierra is more subtle, a little more refined, but still amazing.
Every month of that great year, 12 times the sum will come and go before the first can reappear. Here in the dark we scribe a line to mark the dawn of each new age, and hide the talisman away to pass along from sage to sage, while in the west the oldest house lays down its head. Its night is come, and to the east a bright new star shines above the rising sun.
Getting up Donahue Pass was a grind, but given what we had been through over the previous 3 weeks, certainly doable.
Its night is come, and to the east a bright new star shines above the rising sun.
The descent down into Lyell Canyon was steep, rocky, and painful at times, but the reward was a flat, seemingly manicured trail alongside a huge meadow.
Favorite chase, the dragon's tail, the phoenix eye, while in the west the oldest house lays down its head. Its night is come, and to the
We fished for as long as the weather would allow and managed to catch a few small brookies and browns in this amazing setting, but eventually we would be chased back to our tents. Alright, so we're here kind of hanging out in camp. Had rainstorms off and on all afternoon. Able to catch a few fish in the creek, nothing big. But Wes did get his brown trout today, so that's kind of a big deal. All we need is the cutthroat to complete this here. So just kind of cloudy, nothing real big, bad, and ugly, but just keeps raining on us. So just gonna hunker down and stick it out. The rains came and didn't let up until the middle of the night. Then the clouds cleared and the temperatures dropped down below freezing. Alright, it's day 23. We're in camp. And Jeremy's my cameraman today, and he needs to move the camera more slowly because if you move it quickly, it doesn't just see that. Got rained on last night, quite a bit, water everywhere. It was cold too because once the rain stopped, the clouds blew away and then it got real cold. So we're cold and looking forward to a hot breakfast. And the cold night meant lots of steam coming off of the stream as we walked toward Tuolumne Meadows. After a scary brush with civilization, we picked up our last resupply, ate hamburgers at the grill, and then headed past Cathedral Peak toward our destination for the night, the Cathedral Lakes. Found a spring, so the boys are gonna drink.
Wes, you can dump out your lemonade and fill it. Woo! It's fresh water.
Good.
Is it weird? Okay, we are having dinner right now. We are having chili mac with beef and Kool-Aid. And we're at a very pretty lake, Cathedral Lake. And that's Cathedral Mountain. It's really cool. We're either going to be going over that or over there. Pretty sure it's over there. Yeah, probably.
We had worried about smoke and wildfires the entire trip, but it wasn't until today, on day 23, that we finally noticed it. All in all, I feel we were pretty fortunate. Day 24. Just packing up here at Cathedral Lake. We got a few more things to do. Beautiful morning. Got really cold last night. We were down to about 32 degrees. So that's a little chilly. Most of us were a little cold last night. So day 24, one more day after today. Pack up and start heading downhill a little bit. It was another great morning to shoot some pictures. The end was near. I think it was something we could all feel and something we all thought about, but didn't really want to talk about. I'll be honest, I had an amazing trip, but after being on the trail for over 3 weeks, I was ready to go home. I missed my wife, I missed my 2 younger children, and I even think I missed work a little bit. As we passed through the burned area, we got our first view of Half Dome, which we would tackle the next day. The smoke was getting a bit heavier and would continue to get worse as the day went on. We got into camp, bathed, washed clothes, and then the boys started their own reenactment of Lord of the Flies. Jeremy had made a bow and arrow, and Wes was working on a deadfall trap. Our last night on the trail ended the way every trip should end, sharing a campfire with good friends.
Alright, day 25, this is it. We'll go climb Half Dome and then head down to the valley. Excited?
Yeah.
Excited to go home?
Yeah, and also sad.
Yeah, it's been a great trip. Been an awesome trip. Let's go make some memories.
Am I awake or am I asleep? My dreams are so close, my life is so near. You talk in your sleep, you're talking to me. And what are you saying?
We eventually made it to the top of Half Dome, where despite the smoke, we still had pretty incredible views.
Mean new world order all around us, all throughout us. New world order all around us.
We're about halfway down the cables.
All throughout us.
You guys. It is ridiculous.
I wake from the bed.
What you guys think?
That was amazing. It was very fun.
Much easier coming down, huh? Yeah, that was a lot. Maybe a little scarier. The throngs of day hikers became thicker and thicker as we headed towards the valley on the Mist Trail. However, 3 of these day hikers I was actually pretty excited to see, as Megan was going to hike up the trail with Blake and Emery to meet us, and then hike the last mile or 2 with us down to the valley.
Leave new world order all around us.
There she is. How was the hike, Em? All right. Hey, Blake. How you doing? Good. Hey, thanks. Blake. How are you, buddy? Emmy. Yeah. Oh. Did I squish you?
It felt so good to be back together again. How do you even begin to wrap up a trip like this? I am so proud of Wes and Jeremy, and I hope that the lessons they learned on this trip will stick with them forever. These are memories that I will never forget.
We're done. Thank you. We did it. The end.
John Muir Trail complete.
Completed.